Hello, everyone. Welcome back to In the Yard Podcast with your hosts, Colin Savala and Braden Cox, as we record here on April 9th, I think it is, Braden, or 8th.
Today's April 8th.
April 8th, Solar Eclipse
Total
Day.
eclipse day.
Solar Eclipse.
Oh, I
Total
guess it's
solar
not
eclipse.
total solar eclipse, whatever.
Yeah.
I had the
Total
special
solar
glasses
eclipse.
on at work today.
Yeah. I didn't really see much here in Sailorsburg, PA regarding the solar eclipse. I mean, it was like kind of cool, but it didn't get like crazy dark or anything. As
Yeah, yeah,
like as you saw in like Texas or like Cleveland, I saw. So
yeah.
um But yeah, happy Solar Eclipse Day. We are about 10 games into the MLB 2024 season. So Braden and I are actually going to do a reaction for all the teams across the league, what our biggest surprise is, and like kind of who's underperforming at the moment. So Braden and I are going to get right into that here on In the Yard. So Braden, fun first 10 games of MLB.
Yeah,
Our Yankees are hot, so definitely makes it more fun.
yeah.
I feel like last year we were kind of just like more focused on the other the other teams, mainly because the Yankees were so bad that we kind of had to
Well, we
focus
were
on the other
trailing
teams.
them. That's why we always had
Yeah,
to worry about them.
yeah. But this year so far it's been fun. But this episode we are going to get to the other teams and touch on the Yankees a little bit. So
Yeah.
Brady, yeah, give me your biggest um give me just your initial reaction to like what something that's really stood out to you so far this season.
Yeah, I mean, a couple things. I won't take too much time here, but as far as like who's hot, who's cold, who's hot? The NL Central's hot. All
Yeah,
teams above 500. Pittsburgh Pirates leading at 8-2. Very impressive start for them. The Brewers 6-2. A lot of people were high on them, but a lot of people were like, "Well, they lost Corbin Burns. They might, take a step back." So far, so good. Chicago Cubs 6-3. The Reds 5-4, and St. Louis 5-5. So overall, like great start for all these clubhouses. So I would say, as far as who's hot, I would say the NL Central, and that for sure is standing out to me. Maybe something that I would look at as far as something that you know, if you're a fan of this team, be a little weary. I'm a little worried about the Reds though, man. Like they're hot,
oh
but like they're doing well. They're 5-4, but like they played the Mets and they didn't look good
yeah.
yesterday. What's his
I
name?
mean, they do have a lot. They do
Spencer
have a lot of
Steer looks
injuries.
good, but true,
Yeah,
true. But long term, I'm a little nervous because we
right.
were both very high on the Reds
We
this
were
year.
we were
Um,
really high in the Reds, and then not so high on some of the other teams there. I mean, that's a good point, Brandon. Like how you pointed out the NL Central, because me
yeah,
and you both had the Reds finishing in first, and then kind of a toss up for like those other seeds.
yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, so my biggest surprise, I was actually going to lean toward the NL Central as well, is the Pittsburgh Pirates. I mean, they start off they're eight
yeah.
and two now, 2 game win streak,
Quality wins too.
big wins. They go into Baltimore and actually no, they didn't
No,
go into
no,
Baltimore,
they
but
hosted
they
Baltimore.
they they played the Orioles and they won that series. Um,
Yeah,
I forget who they exactly played before that, but 8-2 is 8-2. And I
they
think
beat.
they've won all their series so far.
Yeah, yeah. So they swept the Marlins, 4-game series with the Marlins,
Yeah,
and then they won 2 out of 3 against the Nationals. So again, like they're not. Baltimore has by far been their best opponent, and they still
right.
went out and got the W. So I can't,
Yeah, yeah. I know the same thing happened last year with the Pirates, so I don't want to overreact just yet to them. But
yeah,
yeah, 8-2 is a good start. I know, like last year they started off really hot as well, and they kind of came to earth like toward the middle of the season there. But I think this year they look better. I think um, me and you both didn't really have super high expectations. They're still a young team. Didn't really
yeah,
make that many moves this offseason. Last year, they weren't that good at all. But I think O'Neal Cruz, he stepped it up a lot. Keep Brian Hayes, he stepped it up a lot as well. So if they could keep it
yeah,
going, they'll have a good chance, especially in that NL Central, like we talked about. It's pretty much a toss up for first place. And if you get a good start like they have a pretty good shot. Um, and then I know again it's still early in the season, but I want to say another shock to me was the Cubs. Um,
yeah,
Shota Imanaga, I think has been lights out. I think he has I don't think
pretty
he's let up an
much,
earned
yeah,
run yet. He has 2 starts, hasn't let up a run yet. Um, and then they beat this weekend. They beat the Dodgers. I think 2 or 3 games. So yeah, I think
yeah.
The Cubs have definitely shocked me. I didn't have high expectations for them because last year I was kind of on the Cubs bandwagon. They just missed the playoffs, but then this year I'm like, well, they didn't really do anything besides Imanaga, and then they re-signed Bellinger. But yeah, they're hot too, and they look good. I think Craig Counsell has a lot to do with that. Their new managerial hire, and yeah, they could keep it up too. I just think just like the NL Central is just it's very like up in the air. I think we talked about this earlier for the preview, but yeah, I just think it's the NL Central has been pretty solid to start. I think it's they've exceeded most people's expectations so far.
Yeah, yeah, no, 100%. I think the question really becomes once you get 20, 30 games in is can you keep it up? Because I look at a team like Pittsburgh and I, I would say probably now can they keep it up? I'd probably lean towards no, right? I would love for them to prove me wrong, but I just think it's going to be very tough for them. Um, and like I said, like I am a little concerned about the Cincinnati Reds because the Mets for the first, almost week of baseball didn't have a win, and then the Reds host the Mets over the weekend and dropped 2 out of 3, right? So again, they were close games, there were no blowouts, but it's like I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not jumping off the bandwagon or anything. We're 10 games in. We've only played 9, but I would say that definitely stands out to me. They are above 500, but like when you've got other teams in your division, when we know for a fact that this division is going to be probably coming down to the final week of the season, losing 2 out of 3 to the Mets, which I think we would both agree is probably a bottom 10 team in the league,
Mm-hmm.
is not ideal. So
Yeah. So let's go back to the Central, but actually bring it to the AL, Braden. Um,
yeah,
Similar to the NL Central, it's kind of a toss up for the first place. We knew had the Twins. We had high expectations for the Twins this year.
yeah,
Early in the season, can't overreact. But the Cleveland Guardians are 7-2, plus
yeah,
32 run differential. That's the highest in the league right now. And they just look good. I mean, they don't have a lot of power, but they have great pitching, and they get on base. They steal, and they just get a lot of RBIs and get guys in like a small ball fashion. So they've definitely exceeded my expectation. I think I might have had them coming in fourth at the beginning, but they look really good. Got the Naylor twins and Max Kepler. And it just seems like they're rolling right now, and no one could really beat them.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you for sure. I mean, again, it's very early in the season, but you don't have Shane Bieber, who was dealing in his. I
Yeah.
don't know if he had, I don't know how many starts he had, but he was dealing to start the season, and it's a contract year for him. So, if he comes out and has a Cy Young or near Cy Young year, we're talking he's getting a contract in the offseason of 150, 200 million potentially. You know what I mean? But now
Mm-hmm.
he's going to go get Tommy John. And it's like, I don't know. It sucks to see it. And I know that's probably a whole other discussion with the pitch clock and, the injuries we're seeing with Tommy John's or just elbow injuries in general. But,
Yeah.
you hate to see a guy like Shane Bieber, particularly in a contract year. Everybody likes the guy go down within the first week. You know what I mean? So that worries me long term. But yeah, I mean, as far as the bats, like you said, plus 32 or plus 33 run differential, you can't argue with that. They're hitting the ball, they're scoring runs. So and for the most part, like they've played. I mean, they did start the season against Oakland, and that's a whole other discussion, right? But they looked really good against Seattle on the road, and they looked good against the Twins, who you had the Twins winning the World Series or winning the AL at least, right?
Yeah.
So that there's something to say there. They haven't even played a home game yet, and they're 7-2, so that's definitely something that to uh, keep track of.
Yeah.
I would
That's
say.
a good point. Um, so yeah, I think so yeah, this the Centrals in general, just kind of a toss up, and a lot of teams have exceeded our expectations so far. We'll see if they can keep that up. And then one more thing, Brady and I wanted to note to
Yeah.
me so far is moving away from the Central now,
Yeah.
is the fact that like the Astros, the Mariners, and the Athletics,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're all under 500 as of now. Astros obviously so start after getting swept by the Yankees in the first series. I'm
Yeah.
kind of expected it from the Athletics. but even the Mariners are below 500. And then Angels are actually above 500 with 5-4 record. And then the Rangers obviously 6-3 with a solid start.
Yeah.
Again, don't want to overreact. But what is your initial thought on the Astros 3-7 stars? Kind of where I'm going with this.
Yeah, I mean, they're one of those teams, and we talked about this previously on the show, right? You can't count them out. They're
Absolutely
going to
not.
be playing. They're going to be playing in October. They could be 3-7. Let me look at who they played. I know they got swept by the Yankees. I know they had a series. Yeah, like what could they've played?
They played the
They got swept by
Yankees,
the
someone, and then the
Yankees,
Rangers.
the Blue Jays, which is another team that's like a borderline playoff team, right? So they're not. They haven't even played anybody in their division. Well, the Rangers, right? But they haven't played any of like the Angels or the Athletics, which are teams that we expect them to beat. So I think the schedule, right? Slow start for sure, right? But the schedule also really hasn't been in their favor as they're playing like
Yeah. But
probable.
they're the Astros, though. Like, you don't really expect that out of them.
True, true. And to note, really, like they're not really scoring. I mean, they did 10-0 the Blue Jays one night, and they did 8-0 the Blue Jays, but then like they're not winning close games, really. Like they kind of,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Their bullpen
It,
really, their bullpen is kind of what blew it in the Yankee series, I would say.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I mean,
and
five and
that's not
four
like the
against the Yankees, they
Astros.
lost. They lost by 6 against the Yankees, lost by 2, and lost by 1. Then lost 2-1 to the Blue Jays. Like, I don't know. I expect them to win those games. I'm not concerned about them. Um, I know there's
No,
something going on with
they're still going to
Framber or
make the
something.
playoffs. Like, I know it's going to be a slow start, but they'll get going. I think the same thing happened last year. Like, the Rangers were like 10 games ahead at one point. The Astros
Yeah.
came back in
Yeah.
the
The
last
Rangers were
month
in
and took
control
the
for
one
most of the
seed.
regular season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And they're one of those teams that they're gonna figure it out. One thing to note is I think Frambler, something's going on with his elbow too. He was scratched tonight.
really.
So yeah. So I
We'll have
mean,
to get into an episode maybe
yeah, I
sometime
think we should
within this
definitely have an
week.
episode where we talk about, all things MLB pitcher elbows, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Um, but you know, it's gonna be, I'm not gonna be looking forward to that episode too much, I guess you could say, because it sucks. It sucks to see these guys going down with injuries, and you can't really point in one absolute direction as far as
Mhm.
what's going on. But that's a different subject. But again, not too worried about the Astros long term. Because probably of all the teams in the AL, they're probably the last team you want to see.
Yeah. I
You know what I
mean,
mean?
it's the like we've said this many times before. The Houston Astros are the Kansas City Chiefs of the MLB. I feel
Yeah,
like the past couple of years the Chiefs have started slow, and then always find their way back into the mix, and the next thing you know, they're winning the Super Bowl, kind of thing. Um,
yeah,
so yeah, same thing here with the Astros. I'm not going to worry about them at all.
yeah,
They know what they're doing over there. They have good operation, and
yeah.
it's just a matter of time until they get going again. I would be very surprised if they don't make the postseason at this point.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think pretty much the majority would say they're a lock. As far as where they land, I think you had them winning this division, or no?
I had the
Did you have the
Rangers.
Rangers?
You had the
And I think
Astros.
I had, yeah, yeah, something like that. And I'm gonna stick with that because law of averages. The Angels are not gonna stay at 2. I think if they stayed at 2, now if they were above 500 by like 60 games in, I think that would be like insanely spectacular on their part. Um, because it could have really damaged that franchise losing someone like Shohei Ohtani in the offseason. But just one last note I'll
Yeah,
make is the Seattle Mariners because I'm high up on the Seattle Mariners this year.
yeah,
I
yeah.
do
You have
expect
them.
them to make the playoffs. Not a great start, but not a bad start, I'd say. As far as who
Yeah,
they've
there
played,
haven't been many bad starts aside from the White Sox, which we expected, in the Marlins.
which
Um,
we didn't
I mean, I
expect
know
to
it's
be
early
one and
on, but
nine.
like you don't want to start off with one win in the first 10 games. Like it's kind of
Yeah.
really hard to dig yourself out of that hole. But we'll
No,
see. Anything can
and the thing
happen.
is they play in a conference that's so good. Like
Yeah,
as far as like we expect the Braves, we expect the Phillies, we expect one team from the Central's getting in, but then we expect the Dodgers, we expect the Diamondbacks, we expect another team from the West. So there's not like you know you can't really afford ever, but particularly in the division and conference you play in to start 1-9 because the
Yeah.
Marlins were a playoff team last year, right?
Yeah.
And
Definitely. I had pretty high
they went and they
expectations for
got
the
Tim
Marlins.
Anderson. What?
I think I had them as my last wild card. I don't know that. I forget exactly. Um,
I don't I don't know.
maybe I
I
had
think
no. I had them just missing. I had them
yeah,
just
I
missing.
think I think we both had them as the last team out, but right now, I mean 1-9, it's not happening right now. And I don't know what the score is at the moment, but I know that they're playing the Yankees these next few days.
Yeah.
Um, the Yankees are up 3-0, it looks like at the moment.
Yeah.
But
That
yeah, it's three
brings me
nothing
to my
Yanks.
last point, Braden. I know we said we are gonna keep this like MLB wide, but my
Yeah,
biggest surprise is our New York Yankees. 8 and
yeah,
2, sweep the Astros, win a series in Arizona, who was the World Series team last year, and then win a
yeah.
series, the homestand in the Bronx, the home opener in the Bronx, I should say, against the Blue Jays, another solid team. And then I think a lot to do with that is Anthony Volpe.
Yeah.
He's been absolutely raking. Um,
Probably one player that I would say has stood out the
yeah,
most this
one
year, and
player
I'm trying to be as unbiased as
bounce
I
back.
possibly can, is Anthony Volpe in his second year. Spectacular start for him.
Yeah. And I think right before I was going to get to that point, I think I got a notification on my phone. It says Anthony Volpe golfs the slider out to left for a 3-run homer. So he's homered tonight. That's how they had
Really?
their 3 runs. Yeah.
Wow.
I forgot they were playing
Yeah,
at
you're right.
6.
Yeah, 3-run homer. So yeah,
Yeah.
man, it's definitely exciting. I hope he can keep it up. I mean, he's batting like a ridiculous. It's like 420
Yeah. He's
something, I
batting
think, or
424.
something.
I don't know if you saw my stat of the day that I posted, but he has one 3-hit game already this season, one 4-hit game already this season. And last year, all last season, he only had 2 3-hit games, and he already has 2
Wow.
this season. So,
Wow.
um,
Yeah. No, it's definitely exciting. And not to make this all about the Yankees is
yeah.
for the most part, like there's not any one player in the lineup that I'm just kind of like, on right now. Like
Yeah, it's
Trevino has
different.
definitely had a
It's
slow
different.
start, right? But like Glaber is like about what we expected so far,
I think he'll get
right?
going. Stanley seems like
I
he's getting
agree.
going too.
I
Um,
agree. Glaber, even though he doesn't have like a ton of stats to back it up, I guess you could say. The Yankees just scored another 3 runs, so someone hit a homer. But not to jump the gun there. Yeah, Juan Soto 3-run home run, so it's six
jeez,
nothing. Awesome. Um, but yeah,
live on the pod.
yeah, there you go. I look at someone like obviously, like I said, Gleyber Torres. He might not have like the batting stats to back it up, but he gets on base. I feel like he's been
Yeah,
on base a
and he
lot.
works counts too. He takes good
He
swings.
does.
Sometimes I think he swings a little too hard on 2 strike counts, but he'll work the count. He'll see a lot of pitches, and that's kind of been their mo this season so far, is just working the count, seeing a lot of pitches, and then getting into that bullpen and going from
Yeah,
there.
and another thing is he turns into that guy. I I've seen a lot of people say like maybe you move Anthony Volpe up to that spot, but I'm cool
No,
with him kind of
I,
sitting in the back for a little
yeah,
bit.
I'm saying if it ain't broke, don't fix it right now.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
unless Glaber really slumps, um,
Yeah.
I would keep Volpe and it's right where he is. I mean, he's doing fine. And then it's nice to have that, even when you get to the 6-7 guy, you have a guy like Volpe getting on base. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, and I feel like I don't know about you. I feel like a lot of these games that I'm watching with the Yankees is like the opposing pitcher in like the fourth or fifth inning, maybe even earlier, is up to like 70 pitches, which is a
yeah,
recipe for success,
yeah, that's what I mean.
right?
That's been
So
their mo. Is it's been working counts, getting high pitch counts
yeah.
for the starters,
So
and then going from there.
overall, you know, great start for our New York Yankees. Obviously, the season's early. There's gonna be slumps. We're gonna have conversations on this pod where we're gonna be in panic mode. But so far, so good. Uh, the Bronx are rocking and rolling, and yeah, I mean, overall, the entire AL East. I mean, look at Boston. Boston's seven and
Yeah,
three and hasn't
Boston.
even played a home game yet.
Yeah,
Um, Granted, I don't think they played like all on the West Coast. They played like Oakland 4 games. So they've had like some weird games
yeah.
in there. So I'm not necessarily really surprised that they're 7 and 3. Um, but I think you're gonna really start to see the season take shape when you start getting those Baltimore at Boston and Tampa Bay at New York. Those division games are really where the division's going to be had.
Yeah.
Because we've played Toronto, but like it's so early in the season, it's hard to tell. But they looked good. They had that one game where they got blanked, but for the most part, like yesterday was fun.
Yeah. It's
The
gonna be it's
previous
gonna be a fun
day,
summer in
the
the
previous day
Bronx.
we were up like 9-3, and then it ends up being 9-8, which wasn't great, but
Yeah, one's win.
still a good start.
Yeah. All right. I think that about wraps it up for me, Braden.
Yeah, I'm good too. So far, so good.
Yeah.
Across the league.
Yeah, and if you're listening and you haven't let Braden and I know about our in the yard tailgate Yankees at Phillies on July 29th, let us know if you'd like to
Yeah,
join. Um, if you haven't, if you weren't able to get a group ticket, you could still just buy your own ticket and stop by the tailgate. We'd love to have you there and hope to see you.
yeah, absolutely. We good time.
Yep. Thank you everyone for listening. In the yard, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Go
Yeah.
Yankees.
Yeah, go Yanks.